Okay, I just hit record, and so I think we can get started here. Again, welcome this morning. It's tips for hosting an online meeting. This is Rails Online Roundtable. If you've never participated in these, they're a little bit different. I'm going to do a short presentation. It'll probably only be like 20 minutes long. Maybe 30, and then we're gonna have about 30 minutes for you all to participate and kind of, we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll do a discussion. It'll all happen over chat. So you'll have the opportunity to type in your suggestions, react to questions. I want to hear what's going on in your libraries. You know, the one thing about this is nobody's doing it exactly right. I'm not an expert for sure. And so I want to hear what tips you have, what suggestions, how you prepare for meetings, how you are, you know, handling the actual day of. So all of that's going to be available to you. Just a note, I'm not going to do any video, so you're not going to be able to see me. I don't really want to turn that on this morning. I can, but I just want you to know you're going to see the PowerPoint, and then I also encourage you to participate in that chat box there. So again, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Just a reminder, you can introduce yourself if you want to put your name and your title and library organization. Just make sure you're choosing that all attendees and panelists option. That is the way that people are going to be able to see you and see your message. If you just choose all attendees in that panel, in that to field, we're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to get the message to everybody. It's only going to go to me. I'm the only person here hosting the webinar, so I'm going to have to kind of control the slides, and I might not be able to see it right away. When we get to the Q&A section and discussion session, I will open up the chat box and then start reacting there. So right now I'm not going to be taking a lot of questions, but definitely keep that in mind for when we get later on into the event. Okay, hello, this is me. I'm Dan Bostrom, Member Engagement Manager from the Reaching Across the Illinois Library System, Rails. I am presenting this morning from my spare bedroom, and I know a lot of you are probably participating from home as well. We're in a strange spot right now, but I appreciate you coming, and we'll try to make this as quick and easy as possible. I really want to give you all some tips and ideas for things that you can use. So thanks again for coming. Okay, so here's a quick look at our agenda. I got basically 6 sections here. The first one's kind of about early legwork, just preparing for, you know, how you're starting off with your online meeting. I'll give you some tips for tech practice and you know, setting everything up so everybody knows what to do. Attendee perspective, this is an important one because you want to think about what people who are participating need to know, and then you know, how they're going to participate day of, that sort of thing. Meeting day, that's always that's always an interesting one, so I'll give you some tips there, and then we'll do follow-up and next steps, and then we'll move on to our Q&A and discussion. So I look forward to hearing it from you in that portion. I want to see a little bit about what you're doing, that sort of thing. Okay. All right, so before I get into anything, we're going to do a little bit of Rails news and opportunities. I want to hear what's happening, or I want you all to hear what's happening around Rails. You know, there's some big changes happening, obviously, to all libraries, and we're trying to stay on top of that as much as possible. The first thing I want to tell you about is this COVID-19 pulse page. So this is really our central hub for everything that is impacting libraries right now. And you know, this is being constantly updated. It's sort of an alert page. There's information on there like general public health info, latest news, suggestions on actions libraries might take. We also have updated links to, you know, free online education, free learning for children, museum and library tours that are online that you can use. And again, this is always being updated, so please feel free to check that out. That's a great thing that we're offering right now. In that same vein, on Monday, we are doing a special member update, and this will be on all the topics related to COVID-19. We're going to do some member presentations. There's going to be some presentations from Rails staff on you know, what we're offering right now. So I really do hope that you'll join us. This is via Zoom. It will be recorded, and you can register via L2. There's a link to the L2 page right there. Okay, continuing education, obviously this is always available to you. We have over 150 archived webinars. Last time I looked, I think it's 172, but that, you know, changes all the time as we add new ones. Any staff member from any library can access these as long as they know their L2 credentials. And if you don't know your L2 login, this is a great time to figure that out. So I encourage you all to email that L2help@railslibraries.info. That's monitored by a team of people that are working from home, but they will try to respond as quickly as possible. And you know, it's such a wide variety of topics that we have on there: collection development, you know, issues related to leadership and working with the public, marketing. That's a huge topic for us right now. Advocacy, intellectual freedom, all those things. Copyright. Those are great things for your staff to check out. And so I highly encourage you to check that out. Soon. Also, we're looking for webinar presenters. So if you have a topic that you think you could present on, we'd love to hear about it. I know we are really trying to ramp up everything that we're doing online, and that means more presentations, more presentation from members. So again, if you know something you want to present on, please do so. That would really help us. And there's a link to that form on there. Last thing I'm going to mention is our ebook support, and these are 2 free resources that you can start offering today to your patrons, to your students, whomever. BiblioBoard is an online collection of ebooks, and it is free and always accessible. So it is based on geolocation. It knows when you're in Illinois. If you are on Wi-Fi and device, you can access it without having to sign up for anything. It's great. Unlimited synchronous use means no holds and no wait times. You can just start reading right away. Again, anyone with a device can access it. It's a really fantastic thing. Inky.org is a companion website, and this is instant access to Pressbooks software. So this allows you to publish an ebook into an EPUB version. This is great for creative minds, you know, book groups, people who are doing some sort of you know, writing group that's getting together, or maybe a student group wants to publish a novel or ebook or something like that. So that's available again for anyone in Illinois for free. We're excited to make that available, and we think that this is a really timely resource for our libraries. So thank you for that. Okay, moving on. All right, so the presentation, here we go. So let me start by saying, you know, I'm definitely not an expert, but I've worked in other industries, and I can tell you that the one thing that libraries really get is sharing. So, you know, this is really widely reflected in all the networking groups and communities of libraries that get together, share ideas, policies, best practices. And in Illinois, a lot of those library groups are very used to meeting in person. So it's becoming a lot more difficult because of the current situation. And I know a lot of you are looking to move your events online, but you might be a little unsure of how to do so. So again, you know, as a member engagement manager, I don't run a lot of high-level meetings with elected officials or CEOs or anything like that. I don't run board meetings, but I have run a lot of online meetings in my time. In 2019, I ran 80 online meetings, which were mostly one-to-one. I also ran 6 of these online roundtables, which are larger events, typically around, you know, like 15 to 50 people. So I've learned some lessons along the way, and I'm excited to share those with you today. Okay, so let's jump into it. So doing the early legwork. Again, I'm going to remind you that this is not a platform-specific presentation. This is not specifically about Zoom. This is not specifically about GoToWebinar, any of those. I know a lot of you are using those for your staff or for you know, other groups of networking groups that get together. I can't really offer you any recommendations, but one of the biggest things I can tell you is be familiar with your platform. Do as many tests as you want to. I'm available. If you ever want me to do a test with you, I'm happy to do so. You're going to need to figure out all of the features that you didn't know that you had. So, you know, can you run polls? You know, do you have the ability to record? You know, how many people can be in a meeting at one time? Those are things you really want to know about in advance. Most of these companies have really great online videos. I know Zoom has some great online videos, and also web forums where you can ask questions and they'll get answered. And those are great places to look. So I would definitely say use those and be familiar with those before you even get off of the ground with starting to plan a meeting. Once you've got a handle on that, you can start to think more about what the meeting looks like. So start with your attendees, who's coming, is it a small group, is it a large one, does vibrant discussion matter, or are a few people trying to get across a few ideas to a lot of people, sort of like what I'm doing here. So good online discussion is really difficult to do. Let me just say that the tech, which we're really starting to be more familiar with, and we love because of the connectivity, it can get in the way. It's just harder online. In person, you have the ability to participate, kind of, see other people's face. Anybody can jump in at any time, and with the tech, that's just more difficult. So my trick and think is I like to think through realistically how many people can participate using a microphone. So, you might want to just invite a few designated speakers. They should know what they're going to talk about and how long that they have to talk about it. So, for example, if you have an hour-long meeting, maybe you want to have 5 speakers and give them each a 5-minute presentation window. I know that's only 25 minutes, but you're going to want to save some time for transitions, Q&A, open discussion, that sort of thing. And I'll show you a little bit how that works at the end. It's also really helpful to have an organizer and a host. So right now I'm doing both roles, but typically I'm just the organizer. So I'm the person doing kind of the back end stuff. I'm setting up links, I'm sending out emails, I'm monitoring the chat, that sort of thing. The host is the person that does most of the presentation stuff, handling introductions, maybe does the transitions. So I would urge you to create those 2 different roles, and that just takes a lot of pressure off of everyone. Also, if you don't have one, an agenda is critical. It's a roadmap for the way that your presentation or meeting is going to happen. Again, who is speaking, when, in what order, this really, really matters. So once you've nailed down the speakers, you should also try to do a practice. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then the last thing to kind of consider in advance is, are you going to be recording this? Is this something that's going to live on beyond just the meeting? And if you do, if you are recording it, is this going to be posted? Where is this going to be posted? How is this going to be hosted? So just keep an eye on that. And then also, if you're not recording, definitely I would think assign someone to take minutes. That's a big thing for everyone. Okay, so tech practice. This is a big one. And again, it's just going to help out, and it's going to make everyone feel a lot more comfortable. Okay, so practice. I usually offer to practice with people one-on-one. So if I have 5 speakers, I might end up doing 5 one-on-one tech practice. But they're 15-minute sessions, 10-minute sessions, just getting people familiar with the platform, that sort of thing. So first of all, you got to make sure you have great connection. Make sure you're in a place that has good internet. There's not a lot of background noise, that sort of thing. Send your speakers information on how to access the platform. I typically send people 2 calendar requests. One is for like a 10-minute practice session, and then the other is for a live session. And if people use Google, they can use Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, that sort of thing. At the practice session, the first thing you want to do is nail down how they're going to be accessing the platform on the day of the event. Are they in the same place? Again, are they in the same place where they're going to be presenting? And are the circumstances the same? Are they using a phone? Are they using a headset? Or are they just using the laptop mic and speakers? That's really important. It drives me nuts when people are like, oh, like I'm going to do this at home, but they're currently at a coffee shop or something like that. And I know that example doesn't really work very well in this current moment, but you get the point. With a lot of people, with a lot of these platforms, people can connect the 3 different ways I mentioned. They can connect via the phone, they can do it via like a headset or connected to their computer, or just with a laptop microphone and speakers. One of the biggest mistakes I see people doing is they don't realize that their laptop does not have a microphone. Their laptop might have speakers, but it does not have a microphone. So you want to test that out in advance. You want to figure that out in advance. If it doesn't, they can call in via the phone with a lot of these. And there's a phone number that's like, that has a code or whatever. Also with the laptop, your microphone oftentimes picks up sound from from outside of just your area. So if there's sirens in the background, if there's a dog barking, that sort of thing. Personally, I would highly recommend that everyone get a headset. I know that's not practical for everyone, but if you're going to do a lot of these online meetings, it's really helpful. The biggest reason for that is there's practically zero chance that you're going to introduce unwanted noise outside of what is happening just speaking. With a headset, your microphone is right by your mouth, and they're designed not to pick up things outside of a certain radius. Your laptop microphone does, unfortunately. So do consider getting a headset if you don't. I'm presenting right now with a headset, and I know I just got on a soapbox there, but please do consider that. Okay, so I mentioned slides, and this is definitely a recommendation from me. I think a great way to run an online meeting is to ask your presenters to develop like one slide a piece. So it's sort of giving them a template in a way. So right now you can say to people like, I'm going to be speaking on this topic, and here are my 5 bullet points. Actually, I'm going to hold on. I'll show you. So I'm presenting via Google. A Google presentation. You can see right now. This is this is just the way I'm doing it. I think it's really nice, Google Slides. I took this actually from our school library friends who are great at these sort of things, and a lot of them use Google Suites for the that product for their schools. I think it's really nice because then you have a link to your slides, and you can share it back and forth. With PowerPoint, it's a little clunkier in my opinion. They have to be saved somewhere. And I do also want to remind you that this maybe isn't practical for all public libraries, simply because you have to worry about FOIA and record retention, things like that. So if you're doing it on your personal Google account, you do need to save that somewhere where it can be accessed and where it can be easily shared for potential like FOIA requests, that sort of thing. Okay, let me give you an example about setting up slides. I'm part of a membership association board of directors. Each month we have a meeting. There are 12 of us, and each person has 1 slide for their area of responsibility. So again, I just put like 5 bullet points about what I'm doing, what's happening in my area of responsibility, and then we all are connected to that same Google Slides presentation. At the time that we're meeting. And it's really quick and easy because we're just going slide by slide. Each person is talking when it's their slide. It just makes it really nice. So again, that's just a way you can do it. A screen share is what I'm doing right now, and there are ways that you can share with different platforms. There's a way you can share different things. So again, I'm sharing my entire screen, which is why if I jump out, I can like go to the Rails website or something like that, or I can this is like the Zoom page or whatever. I can take you to other places. So that's kind of a wider view of a screen share. You can also just share your PowerPoint. That's an option a lot of times. You can do a video chat. So like if I turned on my video, heck, I'm gonna do that right now. So if you can see me up in the corner. Hi everyone. Okay, so that's kind of the video section. Some people like that because you can see other people, and that's fine. If you're doing a meeting where there's like a more informal agenda, maybe that's the way you want to do things so you can see people. I'm not a particular fan of that just because it doesn't make everybody super comfortable. So, do consider that. If that's something you want to do, that's fine. So when you're doing your tech practice, I highly recommend that you practice the transitions, like how you're going to hand it over to somebody who's going next. So you just say like, hi, this is so-and-so, they're going to be presenting on this topic, and then they take over. Especially if you're going to do some, difficult thing where they are going to present their screen, that is something you definitely want to practice because those transitions can be difficult. So Another thing I want to mention just in regards to doing a screen share, if you're doing a screen share where you're sharing your entire screen, make sure that you are getting rid of everything else that's going on in the background of your desktop. So don't have your email open, don't have any sort of instant messaging open. All that stuff is going to be a huge distraction in case you need to go back and access any files or anything like that. And everybody, if you're doing a screen share like that, everybody's going to see it. I've seen some situations where you're like, oh yeah, there's my email, and you just don't want to run into that. Okay. Again, I think a great thing to do, especially if you get nervous presenters or people that are taking part in your meeting, setting up a back channel for communications is a great way to do things. Give some people your, your cell phone number in case they need to call you. In a big time pinch, you can do it where like, someone is calling you, someone's talking on a cell phone, and you are putting the cell phone in front of like a microphone. That's a real janky solution to a problem, but sometimes that works the best, and sometimes you have to work with what you can. Okay, I'm gonna try to have a poll here. Okay, so I want to do my second poll. Okay, you should be seeing a poll right now. It says, do you like to see other people in your meeting? So that means, do you like to do video chats? Is video something you like to see? So I'm interested in people like that or not. This is a fun little interactive way to keep people. Wow, okay, okay, about 53% of us are voting. Most people are saying they're neutral. Some people are saying yes. Some people are saying no. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. We'll give like 15 minutes more or 15 seconds more for people to answer, just so everybody gets a chance. Okay, so most people are neutral. That's kind of what I feel. I'm maybe a little bit more in the no category. I don't really like video all that much. It's not one of my favorites, but again, sometimes it's nice to see people's face. Thank you for everybody who participated. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, the attendee perspective. This one is a super important one. And as you get closer to the meeting, there are a few things to remember. Okay, so first, registration. So you really, really want to make it clear how people are accessing that meeting. For example, if you do registration, which a lot of platforms will handle that for you. For example, today you are, you all registered for this event. You got an email with directions on how to access it. You also got a reminder email, and that was automatically sent by Zoom. So that's a really nice thing to be able to offer people. With Zoom, you can send reminders, like 1 week in advance, 1 day in advance, 1 hour in advance. So people just aren't forgetting it. People are getting an email directly to them. And most people right now are working entirely on email. So it's a great thing. If you're doing a smaller meeting of like, 5 to 10 people, maybe that's not, super important for you to do. And you can sort of do that like manually. Just if you're going to do it manually, just be prepared for 2 or 3 people to send panicked emails about 5 minutes before the meeting on how they access the meeting. So again, you just need to be clear. If you're not being clear, people are really going to come out of the woodwork and be like, how do I get there? I didn't get the email. That's always the case. And that doesn't happen when you're doing it, down the street at the library close to you. So if you have a set group of people that meets every month, you might be interested in just setting up like automatic reminders, and you can actually put in like a calendar invite. You can put the the Zoom meeting or the GoTo meeting or even like a Google Hangout link into that email, and it just like auto generates for them, which is really nice. But that's probably for a much smaller group of people that are meeting regularly. Okay, so in addition to the agenda, one thing I want to just tell you about is I always prepare like a script, and I think that just makes it better for attendees. I try to, it's like an annotated agenda. Like I'm giving myself clues on what to speak when. So this just makes it feel a little bit more fluid, makes it feel a little bit more, structured, and people know what they're getting into, if you will. Um, so I always try to remind people again what the format is going to be like in advance and how they can contribute. So you want to put that in the language of like your reminder emails. Whether or not it's going to be recorded, because you're going to get that question a million times, be upfront about it. I also like to set up polls or surveys so that people know, people can sort of participate and hear about, what other people think. That's kind of the kind of thing. It's a great way to set up, so like voting, if you will. And then, when the, like, in advance a little bit, you also want to prepare some discussion questions. And, if you have a smaller group of people, maybe you can do it all via audio. Maybe people can be responding via audio, but largely, I think it's probably a better thing to have people participate via text, unfortunately. Just because with more than 10 people, participating via audio is kind of a nightmare, just because people are talking over one another, and it's really hard to pick up on, like visual cues on who's ready to speak, that sort of thing. To be honest with you, I don't like giving more than like 5 people, like microphone rights. I know that's crazy, but that's just my preference. I'm a little bit of a control freak that way. Okay, so that's kind of the attendee perspective, and meeting day is finally here. A slight bit of dread. I personally, I have a little bit of dread every time a meeting comes around like this, and especially an online meeting, because I don't always know what's going to go wrong, and I get a little bit high strung. But doing things in advance always helps that feeling a little bit. And then I'll kind of give you some clues on what I do during the day of the meeting. So first thing, I always arrive early. I'm early for every single meeting I've ever had in my life. That's just my custom, and it just makes me feel a little bit at ease. If how early you want to arrive depends, I think, largely on how many people you're presenting to and how many people are participating. So if you're hosting an online meeting of like 40 people, you want to make sure that all of your speakers are showing up like 15 minutes early to test out their audio and make sure that they are ready and set up. I personally, I will show up like 20 minutes in advance, just to make sure that all my notes are in advance, that sort of thing. This is going to sound funny, but I love print. I love to print out my notes. I think it's super important to have everything kind of in front of you. I find it really comforting to have that paper. I can make notes on it. Again, I can go back to parts of my annotated agenda and see where I was. I'm also noting like my cues to remind people to participate via chat, how to do that. I'm going to remind people that it's being recorded, all those type of things, because you kind of want to have those at different points. These last two are totally self-explanatory. Be comfortable, be yourself, have fun. People can tell when you're stressed out, and tech issues are probably going to exacerbate that. Try to have a smile on your face when you're recording, even though people might not be able to see you, because you can tell, you can hear when people are smiling. And tell a joke. Make fun of make fun of the fact that your cat is like sitting on your keyboard or something like that. That's a nice way to just break the ice a little bit, and let people give you a little bit of slack, because you're doing this for the first time. A lot of us are doing this for the first time, and that's just a nice thing to have in your back pocket. Okay, so that is kind of the meeting day. I won't get into too much about how a meeting works, because so many of you probably have your own meetings in your own format, that sort of thing. And it's important to test it out, see how it works for you. You can always change it, that sort of thing. Okay, so kind of the last portion before we get to our discussion is follow-up and next steps. So, once the meeting is over and you really want to communicate a couple things with people. First of all, you got to download the recording. So if you're using something like, if you're recording on Zoom or GoToWebinar or Adobe Connect or something like that, make sure that you make sure that you've recorded successfully. Typically recordings take a while, and it's going to be a couple hours. If it depends on how long the meeting was. But for example, I had a meeting yesterday that was an hour and a half, and the recording took probably like 3 hours to actually process via Zoom. So that's always a nerve-wracking process. But you want to download, save it to somewhere on your home drive or on your work drive, so that you have a place to kind of go back to it. Think about where you're going to put it. So a lot of our networking groups have like shared Google folders, which is totally fine. I'm pretty sure that you can upload like an MP4 file into Google Drive, and that's something you can always do. You could put it on YouTube, but you know, that would sort of require someone with like a personal YouTube account to do that. You know, I don't know how comfortable people are with that. That's fine. Unfortunately, excuse me, Rails does not offer a file sharing service. So we don't really have the capacity to host this sort of thing. I wish I could say that we did. But we really rely on our networking groups to find their own storage solutions. Some of you might be able to offer your library's own, you know, shared drive or whatever you use. Maybe use Dropbox. That's a good place to kind of put it. But you're going to want to like have a place to point people to access it. And sometimes that can even go into the follow-up email. So for example, tomorrow you're all going to get an email from me, or it's actually going to be from Zoom. But it's going to have a link to the YouTube page. So after this is done, I'm going to go upload this to YouTube and create a link, and that's going to be in the email. You can go access it directly from that YouTube page. Um, so same thing with the agendas and handouts. If you didn't record it and you had someone take minutes, you also want to, you know, find a place where those are available. If you don't do that right away, you're going to get people asking you like, hey, where are the minutes for this? Or like, where was the agenda? Or can you send me a link to that thing that you were talking about? That's always just nice to be able to give to people. Remind people of your next meeting. So, you know, start planning your next meeting at your current meeting. That's a big thing. You know, talk about meetings that are happening in the future because as you're talking about things, start building your agenda, that sort of thing. You do that in your in-person meetings anyways, so why not, you know, translate that to the online forum. And then run a survey because you can even put the survey into that follow-up email that you're sending, you know, like a day after the live version. So that email will have like it will have a link to the recording or notes, and then B, it will have like a survey. You can ask people like, you know, did the meeting meet your expectations? How do you like the format? Is there anything you would change? That sort of thing. And you can just gauge how people are enjoying it and if they're liking it. I run some of my surveys through Google Forms just because it's really easy to set up. We also have SurveyMonkey. You can do that. If you have a SurveyMonkey account, that's a great option. So definitely plan for your next meeting that way. Okay, so that is pretty much my short presentation, and it looks like I'm at 10:30, which is a great time. And we're going to turn this over to Q&A. Before we do Q&A, I have one more poll for you. So I'm going to launch my poll, and that is, did this session make you feel any more comfortable at hosting an online meeting? I hope the answer is yes, but if no, that's fine. It's anonymous, so you can be fairly brutal about it. I'm also going to be taking questions in the chat box. So if you want to send a question to me that way, that's great. While you are all are answering it, I will tell you a brief story. I worked for another organization and I was organizing, this is in my younger days, I organized an online meeting for a committee. And it was being held via Adobe Connect, which is a platform that we were using at the time. And I'd done all the like early legwork in the office, and suddenly I decided that I was going to do this Adobe Connect meeting at home, which was not a great decision. It was like 5 o'clock in the evening when the meeting was supposed to happen, and I decided that I was too late to stick around the office. So I got home at like 4:30, and I started to like, you know, log in, get set up, but I had some internet issues at my apartment. Cardinal rule violated it. And it was also, my apartment at the time was really small, so I didn't really have a great workstation. And the best place I could find was near an outlet in my bedroom. Long story short, the connection was terrible. The internet cut out twice. I lost connection for about 5 minutes at a time. The meeting was a disaster. The committee chair was very angry at me. But it was a great learning opportunity, and sometimes that's just going to happen. So be patient with those type of things, learn from them, and make sure that you are, you know, always putting yourself in a position to succeed. Okay, so great. I really appreciate everybody filling out that meeting or that poll. We got good. Thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate it. A lot of people said yes. Some people said maybe. One person said no. That's fine. I totally understand that. So thank you for answering. Okay, so again, Q&A. I'm going to open up my chat box here, and I've got some questions. Thank you all. Okay. Back channels. Okay, so Laura answers, what do you mean by back channels of communication? Great question, Laura. So one of the back channels that I use is, so you can use email, for example. So I have like email on my phone. So if I'm closing all of the applications on my desktop because I want to, I want to share my entire screen, I'm also closing my email, but I'm using email on my phone. So I say to people like, hey, during the day of presentation, if you need to get a hold of me, do it over email, and I'll email you back on my phone as quickly as I can, or text me. I'll give you my number and text me, so that you're not doing it like live in front of people. There's a little bit of like presentation. You want to keep things moving, and this just gives people a way to kind of communicate. Another back channel is, with a lot of these platforms like Zoom, you can actually chat one-on-one. So I can send you like a direct message, which is a way like I can answer a question and say like, hey, Laura, thanks for asking that question. Here's what I do, that sort of thing. The issue with doing it in front of everyone is maybe it's not something everybody needs to know, and so you want to have that back channel in order to communicate with people. So thank you for that question, Laura. Jenna asks, are there any suggestions? Oops. Are there any suggestions for the best, easiest platform to use for a board meeting? Jenna, I gotta say, I really can't give you any suggestions. I don't stump for any of those, online meeting platforms. Zoom is certainly having a moment right now, I think, as we're all seeing. And I do appreciate Zoom. I've used GoToMeeting before. I like it. I've used Adobe Connect. I like it less. But I would price matters, and you really need to figure out how much you're going to be using it, and how much it costs for licenses. So one of the things that everyone asks Rails is, like, do you have licenses that you can like check out to networking groups? Unfortunately, we don't have those, because our licensing agreement doesn't allow it yet. It's something we're looking into, but unfortunately we don't offer it yet, but keep an eye out for that soon. There's some great free options out there. Google Hangouts is an option, but you sort of need to figure out what is best for you. I can't really give anybody a recommendation. Sorry, I know that doesn't really help. But thanks for the question, Jenna. Melissa asks, do you have any tips for hosting virtual library board meetings? A lot of questions about board meetings. I've never, let me be clear, I've never hosted a library board meeting. But again, I think some of the tips that I presented in this would be useful. So for example, creating like a slideshow, like a Google slideshow, or it can be just like it can be like even a PowerPoint where you are asking people to you're asking people to put in their bullet points in the spreadsheet, and you're sharing that with everybody so everybody can see it while the board meeting is going on. That keeps things moving quickly, and it keeps people from, sort of like meandering off on a path. It's just like, it's basically a version of an online agenda, more or less. So that's kind of my biggest recommendation. I've never been a board president. I've never been a library director, so I can't really give you great advice in that area. Okay, so Josephine asks, if I want to host a board meeting using Zoom while we are closed, do my board members have to download any software to their home computers to access the meeting? Most are not very tech savvy. I can answer this one. Zoom, you do not need to download any software. It does prompt you to download the app, but you don't have to. I do know that much. I've had this question a lot from people, is with Zoom, do you need to download anything? No, you shouldn't have to be. There should be a web version of Zoom that people can use without downloading whatever application it is. And I don't know if that's universal across the platforms. So if like GoToMeeting uses that sort of thing, or Adobe Connect, I think with most of those, there are features available on the application or on the app that are not available through like the web interface. But I don't know what those are, for the individual platforms. Kimberly asks, any suggestions on how to handle public comments virtually? Setting up a board virtually is one aspect, but how do we do public comments? Great question. There are probably some Open Meeting Act things you need to be aware of that are changing right now, and I'm not aware of those. I'm definitely not an expert in the in OMA, so you might want to consult an attorney on these. But you can do public. I would think that you can do public comment over chat. Allow people to just like give some time to people can chat, that sort of thing. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about giving people microphone rights. I don't know that that's such a great idea. But I don't know if that's required. So sorry, Kim. I wish I could be a little bit more helpful on that. But I do think that there are probably some OMA aspects about that that you need to be aware of. Dorothy, how do you add slides to the presentation? Great question. Okay, so that is platform to platform. I'm not sure that you can share slides via something like Google Hangouts. I don't know that that's actually something that the platform allows you to do. With Zoom and with GoToMeeting, you can share slides just by sharing your screen, or you can share like PowerPoint as an application. So that should be an option once once you actually get into the forum. There should be like a share button that you can click, and you can stop sharing, and you can reshare, that sort of thing. Or you can just choose the like share screen option, which is what I'm doing right now. And I'm giving you I'm giving you a instant access to my like desktop. So you're seeing my desktop right now, and I just happen to have Google Slides, up right there. I hope that answers your question, Dorothy. I apologize if it doesn't. Roz, what are the settings on Zoom so that you can view the speaker only and not the participants? Okay, so good question. So the settings on Zoom, so you can view the speaker only and not the participants. So first of all, with some of these platforms, and I'm not sure about Zoom, but participants, if you set it up as a webinar, participants only have basically chat settings allowed. So they aren't going to be caught on audio. So they aren't going to be able to do anything with audio or video. In Zoom, if you set it up as a meeting, people are going to be able to people are going to be able to have their own audio rights. They're going to be able to put themselves on mute and unmute. So anybody can do that. And they can also do video if they want to. But with most of these platforms, it's set up where you're not automatically sharing your video. So you either have to turn something on, or it has to be turned on for you. So that is one definite thing to know about. Josephine says, can Zoom be used on a cell phone? Yes, I believe there is a way that you can do it on your cell phone. There's something you can download to your cell phone and you can use on your cell phone. People could also call in, they can like have it on their desktop, so they can be looking at a desktop version of the like presentation, and then but also be talking on their cell phone. And people can actually put themselves on mute via their cell phone. I think with some of these, you're actually like hitting a button, and I think it's like number 4 or something like that, and that puts them on mute. But people have to familiarize themselves. If they have a big speaking role, they really have to know in advance, because doing the day of is going to be a nightmare, I promise you. So it's almost like you have to like call them and practice before you actually do it. And I could see that being a big board thing. If you don't have people that are tech savvy, you probably want to set up some sort of practice with them, just so that they're not fumbling with it, and come day of, there aren't a million issues. Josephine says, I'm thinking if they don't have Wi-Fi at home but do have a data plan with cell phone. Yeah, that's the way that they can do it. And they can use video. They can actually, people can see them using Zoom. I did that recently with some friends. People were able to participate just using their phone. One thing to note is the video is going to look a little bit different, just because the cameras on cell phones are different from the cameras on your laptops. So it's going to be a profile, version instead of landscape. So you're not going to be able to see everything. So that is just a note. If they don't want to be on video, that's fine. Again, they don't have to be. I don't think it's a reasonable. I just don't think it's reasonable to expect everybody to be on video. And I would much rather see a PowerPoint, just to kind of know where we are in the agenda, rather than seeing people's faces. That's my personal And I should also note that in some platforms like Zoom, I can share my screen, and you can also see video of me. So you can see a video of me talking while I'm presenting. Matt says, Dan, in your opinion, would Zoom be a good platform to do a public program? I know that licensing would need to be scaled to allow X number of participants, etc. Oh, Matthew, that's a good question. Would it be a good platform to do public programming? Um, yeah, I mean, I could see a lot of benefit to it. Again, the video capabilities are great. It works really nicely. So you could be like, for example, if you were doing a story time, you could turn the video on to yourself and have that going, and people could people could just be dropping in and watching it. Yeah, Matthew, I actually do think it would be a really good platform. I know that some libraries right now are using Facebook Live, which is an option. Again, one thing to note is not everybody's on Facebook, so you want to keep that in mind. Zoom is something that anybody can access, and you don't have to have an account. Like I said, you don't need to download anything. You can just send people a link, that sort of thing. Google Hangouts, again, same thing. I do think you need to have a Google account in most cases, so that's something you need to remember. It's free to create a Google account, so all those things are good to keep in mind. The number of participants, yeah, I appreciate that, Matthew. Number of participants is something you do want to keep in mind. I think with certain Zoom accounts, you get up to like 500 for a webinar, and I believe with a meeting, it's up to 100 people. But I really can't imagine a meeting where every one of those 100 people have like microphone rights. That would just be a nightmare. I promise you that would be a nightmare. I can already tell you that would be really, really tough. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm going to jump into our discussion section, and this is where I'm going to ask you questions. So I'm going to type a question into the chat box, and I would appreciate your perspective on things. What are you doing? What are you looking at? What are you thinking about doing? So my first question is, what platform do you typically use for online meetings? How do you like it? And what are the drawbacks? If I can type this, what are the drawbacks? Okay, so I'm asking that, and I'm doing it with that Q1 format. If you want to answer, just type in A1 so that I know that you're responding to the question that I asked. Josephine says, we just started using Zoom. I've attended many Zooms before, but never hosted one. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, all right. That's an interesting place to be in. Exploring the format is cool. I'm a person that likes kind of looking at new formats and sort of seeing how they work and different things. This is the first time I've ever run polls before, which is fun and kind of easy to use before. Yeah, a lot of them worked all the same way. Okay, a lot of answers around Zoom. Just learning Zoom. Hope to use it for board meetings and online programming. Same, just attended Zoom webinars. Kimberly says, not using anything now, have considered Zoom, GoToMeeting, considering joining one now. Matthew says, we haven't done a platform yet, I'm investigating. Elizabeth, this is new for our library. We have used Zoom and, I gotta go back up, Zoom and Google Meet. Yep, Google Meet is a great option. Dawn says, GoToMeeting drawback is no hand raising feature unless moving to Google GoToWebinar. Yeah, GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar work a little bit differently. Actually, I think GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar are very similar to Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. I like it just as much as the other one. I like the fact with GoToMeeting, you can, again, just send someone a link and they can join a meeting like really easily. Melissa says you Zoom twice in last week. Yeah, I'm basically up to like two Zoom meetings per day at this point in my life. So it's really coming fast and furious. Kristen, thank you so much. Kristen says, I used Skype for a departmental meeting recently of 6 people. It worked okay, but it wasn't perfect. Now that I know Zoom has a free tier that includes some features, I will probably switch to Zoom. Yeah, thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. A couple things to know about that free tier is I think that it comes with a time limit. I can't remember how long it is. I think it's maybe 40 minutes. And there are a few other like free, like limits to your free account that you need to be aware of before you kind of jump into it. Ross says, just got Office 365, so we'll be using Teams. Awesome. Thank you, Ross. Susan, do not have anything now. Also researching to find the best option for board meetings. Ooh, yeah. Good luck with that. I'm sorry, I can't. I should ask someone. We should ask people to put together some pricing comparisons. Denise says, same as Justin. By the way, TechSoup has a discount for Zoom that allows you to save 50% per license. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Denise. Minimal savings if you are only doing a single license, but a large savings for multiple licenses. Yeah, that's a good recommendation. Our IT department has multiple licenses. I have one that's basically my dedicated license. I love using it. I use it for all sorts of meetings. I do a lot of one-on-one meetings with people, and I love to be able to do a screen share just to take people around like L2 or the Rails website, or using one of our like online platforms like BiblioBoard or Inky.org, something like that. Great participation. Thank you so much to everyone. Dorothy says, I participated before, but this will be our first time. Josephine says, the free tier has a limit of 40 minutes. Yep, thank you. Yep, so some people said that 40-minute limit. Yeah, that's a frustrating one, but that is the case. Dot says, agree with Ross. We use Teams internally throughout the day. Excellent for internal meetings, instant meetings. Yeah, it's true. Angela, we use Google Meetups. Very simple to use. I really like it. Haven't tried the screen share feature yet. Yeah, the screen share feature is interesting. Again, the biggest recommendation I give you to all of you is turn off everything else that's going on your desktop. All the 500 tabs that you have open, close all of them. You can open them up later, because if you do a screen share, everybody's going to see them. Pam says, haven't used anything yet, but considering Teams, Google Hangout Meets. A lot of you are saying Google Hangout Meets, that sort of thing. That is a great option, and that's a free option. Okay, so thank you all for the answers. The next one is kind of just a reflection on the moment that we're in right now. So what are the benefits online meetings for you and your team? For you and your team. How do you experience them differently from in-person meetings? From in-person meetings. Matthew asked a question, Dan, are Zoom meeting and Zoom webinar licensed separately? I don't think so. I think that's all one package, one license that you would create. The biggest difference is again, the attendance numbers. So I think Zoom meeting is capped at 100 and Zoom webinar is capped at 500, depending. It could depend on your price on your pricing and your license, but I don't think it does. With Zoom meeting, the capabilities in terms of in terms of who can speak are much more liberal. So anybody basically can have access to to a microphone and video on Zoom meeting. With Zoom webinar, it's only panelists and the host. So you can give someone like microphone rights via Zoom webinar and maybe video. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me, but those are things to note. Zoom webinar is much more restrictive. We're doing a Zoom webinar right now, and none of you have microphone rights. I'm sorry I didn't allow that, but it just makes it easier for me to manage. Okay, so Josephine says mostly benefits us while we are closed. Yeah, that's a big thing. Amy says, don't know yet. Could be a better answer in about 2 weeks. Yeah, very fluid situation. Thank you, Amy. Greg says, sorry to say I'm focused with in-person meetings. Yeah, a lot of us are having a problem right now just communicating with people, because in-person meetings are just what we've done forever. So the kind of jumping into this is a big part of that. Dawn says, we are much more efficient online. Stick to agenda, get through topics, and much more decisive next step actions expected. Yeah, thank you, Dawn. That's a great point. I did an online meeting with some people yesterday, and we all looked at like a Google document together, and we made some really quick decisions. And when we were done, we had we basically had like a next steps document ready to go. So it's not something you have to do and send to people afterwards. It's already there. It's already ready. Anita says, haven't held online meetings, only in person. Good luck, Anita. Kimberly says, savings on paying mileage for distance meetings. Yeah, that's true. Not sure about within staff under this stay-at-home situation, of course. Matthew says, thanks for the clarification. You're welcome, Matthew. Lynn says, unknown, but at this point, even though we're physically separated, I would feel that this creates a sense of unity to be in real time. Yeah, I feel connected to you all right now, and there's cool ways that this really does bring people together. I don't think that it replicates the online or the in-person experience at all, because there's so many things that you pick up from in person, just being able to see people's faces a lot of times. But there are certainly things that that it benefits everyone with. It just says, I'm not a fan of online meetings in general, but the benefits during this time in history is actually talking to people other than my husband and animals, of course. I wouldn't normally like the webcam, but it's also nice to see people too. I like meeting more in person because of the reasons you described earlier. Conversation is much more flowing. Yeah, there's a level of just, you know, serendipity to in-person meetings that is hard to replicate in the online environment. Denise, meetings are definitely shorter and people keep to the point. Yep. Some issues with not being able to people to hear, of course. Elizabeth says, staying in touch and connected keeps our team strong. We recently did our first meeting and it was great just to see everyone. Yeah, it really is. Really is. Christy says the social aspect of virtual meetings is beneficial right now as we all work independently at home. Of course, yeah, just the feeling of unity is big. Josephine, I prefer meeting in person, but this may prove to be very handy in the future depending on how long we have to practice social distancing. Yeah, thank you, Josephine. Um, Things are changing. I don't know that we're going to go back to the old ways that we did things when this is done. I'm not a futurist. I'm not somebody that thinks I'm not able to think really ahead of tomorrow right now. But I do think that meetings are going to change in the future. So just be forewarned about that. Belinda, this is going to be a new way to meeting with our library team. First meeting coming next week. Wish us luck. Good luck, Belinda. Thank you. That's awesome. Ross, definitely the savings at travel, both in mileage to time spent traveling. My team clicks really well in person. Kristen says my team clicks really well in person, but not everyone communicates over email as well. So online meetings help keep everyone in sync with each other. Even so, my online meetings feel more clunky than in person. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's all about experimenting with the format. I think that's the only way you can really get close to it. Matthew says, concur with Amy, more time needed to know for certain. And just says, the good part of being forced to meet is online is I'm building more confidence and now I know I can do it if I have to. You can. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Okay, so last question from me is, um, so what tips do you have for making your meetings go smoothly? So again, um, that's anything you want to suggest. Again, I like sort of assigning speakers to a specific time. Laura says practice. Yes, it really is practice. Practicing the tech, practicing with people, making sure people are prepared is a big thing. Um, Thank you. Yeah. Check what's in the background before you turn on your webcam, Angela. Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. I've had to clean out my our guest bedroom here a little bit so that you can't all see everything that we have in here. You can see the books, but that's about it. Kristen says planning agendas, absolutely, and I think that's universal to all meetings, on-site or online. Josephine put my dog outside during the meeting. Don says no, that everyone appreciates leaving early if the agenda is completed. No need to fill all that a lot of time if not needed. Yeah, actually, Don, that's a wonderful suggestion. I had a meeting that was like 45 minutes. I was scheduled for an hour. It was 45 minutes last time, and I just said, hey, go ahead and go. Like, I'll keep the room open if you want to stick around. But if you're done, if you don't have anything else to add, like, just head out. That's the great thing. You get on with your day for sure. Ross says it helps being able to see each other so that you can see if someone wants to speak next by raising their hand. Yeah, that's true. I personally don't use the raising hand feature a lot with my, and I would if someone else was sort of controlling the flow of this meeting. So if I had like a present, like a main presenter who was doing all of the kind of the play-by-play. I would definitely use the raising hand function and I'd be able to identify that person has a question or that has a comment or something like that. But it's harder to do when you're the only person kind of hosting it. Yeah, Josephine, just raise your hand. Thank you, Josephine. Okay, Matthew says, Dan, your tips pretty much covered the most important tips. Test, test, test. Yep. Ross says it helps to be able to see each other so that you can see if, oh, I'm sorry, I read that one. Amy says, make sure the settings are correct for public comment and that we are following OMA. Of course, that's always the big one. Ross says being able to see meeting if not able to attend without having to read someone's incomplete notes. Yeah, that's true. And, one thing that's great about, again, preparing in advance is like, my annotated notes that I can share those with people. I can share my like script that I create. So I've done that in the past where we've had an online meeting and I've prepared a script and someone's like taking notes and I say, instead of you taking notes on my section, just read my bullet points that I've created in advance. I'll just email to them, so that they don't, it's a lot easier for them. Um, Okay, we're coming up. We're very close to the end of the hour, but I want to really thank you all for participating and asking questions and being a really engaged audience. This was awesome. If you have questions, you can always ask me. If you want to invite me to come participate to test out your platform, I am willing to do so. You all should know how to get in touch with me. I'm on the Rails website. I participate in a lot of the email lists, so look for me there. So yeah, stay healthy for everyone. I really appreciate that. I cannot run your next board meeting. I'm sorry. I will not. It's not something I'm going to do. But have a great weekend, everyone. I know that your weekends are a lot like your weekdays this time, but please get away and enjoy something. Do something healthy for yourself. And just have a good one. So thank you. Thanks again. And look for an email tomorrow with a recorded version. It'll be on YouTube. You can access it anytime. Again, really, thank you so much for participating.